speaker next is about a local company that is helping small and large businesses. This morning you heard about Giant Tiger and its automation, but this is also someone that can help both the small and large businesses. And I would like to call upon Eric. His company is JAE Automation, and he's helping both sides of companies. I'm going to talk about a little of the process for you to consider, because sometimes the bigger scale is hard for people to understand, and I'm going to turn it over to Eric. Thank you.
Ann. All right, thanks, Ann. I appreciate the introduction. Again, my name's Eric Martin. I own and operate JAE Automation right here in Grenville. We've been in business for 19 years. We're actually going on our 20th year. We really love what we do. We help out automation abilities within manufacturing, some commercial as well, in Eastern Ontario, Ontario, across Canada, and sometimes into North America. Okay, Industry 4.0, that was the theme. I thought I'd share a little bit about the Industry 4.0 and what's behind it and how businesses can work towards doing improvements. I read a recent survey from Deloitte that said that only 22% of executives in manufacturing had a strong understanding of automation technologies and how they would impact their businesses. I find that really interesting because that means that 78% aren't there and having an understanding of automation and how it will benefit their businesses. So this led to sharing a little bit about how can we help in that area. And so before I get to there, I just want to talk a little bit about manufacturing. I mean, these are terms that aren't new. Just in time, product demands, quality demands. I mean, with the pushing out of more products, and as well the customers are looking for the quality to be there, it really makes it hard to do that without automation. There's emerging technologies, data dependence, trying to find ways to collect data and actually use it for good. And then worker safety. I mean, who doesn't have friends and family that you want to come home at the end of the day? Be in a safe environment, work within processes that are running faster. So safety is a big part, which goes in line as well with the environmental concerns, with doing things well, tracking stuff. Okay, well, I think we live in a really neat time though. I mean, there's challenges, but technology is advanced. We have robots and manufacturing systems. We saw some really neat things from Giant Tiger today and how they've adopted that. The industrial Internet of Things or Internet of Things, there's a lot of devices that are being created and the ability for them to bring into reporting systems a lot easier than they used to be. The cloud computing and data, huge thing spent today on how do we get connectivity, how do we get internet. And so with that coming in, I know even being in Grenville, we have a connection now that allows us to do cloud computing that we didn't have before. And then of course with that comes all the security and wanting to keep that safe in the cloud. And artificial intelligence. There's some really, really neat technologies out there, even just with vision systems and robotics that are being able to make decisions on the fly and doing them quickly. But I know, I get it, with all the really neat technology that's there, we can be in this place of where do you begin? And some may be verbal about it, some may just be on the inside wondering, how do I take next steps? So that's kind of where I wanted to take the talk on is what are some steps we can do, regardless of the industry you're in. Okay, Industry 4.0, getting ready. So step one, be curious. Make it part of your culture and strategic planning to seek out new ways to improve your processes. Stay on top of new thinking and smart technology tools and technology. One of the areas within ways to improve your processes, a few years back, I remember walking into a store, actually locally in Grenville here, and it happened to be on a day where the power was blipping out. It was a hot day in the summer, power was having issues, so throughout the day it was intermittently going out. And when I walked into the store, the owner was quite frustrated because they had a point of sale that was run by a computer that kept going down. Power would come back on, Computer would boot back up, have to get it running again, to the point where the power would go out and it'd fail again. So when I came in, I had asked him, I said, have you ever thought about using a UPS? And in his mind, he answered back to me and said, well, what will UPS do for me? He thought I was talking about the shipping company. I was actually talking about a battery backup system. So from that point forward, it really made me think about that not everything has to be complex. You can implement simple solutions by just being curious, improve new ways to improve your processes and talking with people. And with the smart manufacturing tools and technology, with new thinking, on our website we have case studies, we do project highlights, as well as blogs that have quite a bit of information that might help you in those areas. Number 2, be open. Look at your processes, be willing to be creative, adopt smart manufacturing principles. We had a client that came to us, and they had a process where they were manufacturing a product, and they were having issues with getting that product out the door, at the same time bringing work in process into the building. And at the same time, they were having issues with workers that were taking product and palletizing them. They were even using vacuum assist, but they were still running into issues with sore backs, arms, carpal tunnel, and of course, with the process just being congested. So when we spent some time with them, they were open to some ideas. And as well, they were open to talking about some creative ideas, and they took part in that. And at the end of the day, we were able to implement a case conveying system and a palletizing system that freed up their work area with the conveying system. And then the palletizing actually actually eliminated the sore backs and the arm issues. So be open. Number 3, be diligent. Harness the data you already have. Encourage openness to share data and look for areas that you can find that are wasting. We worked with another customer where they had a water issue. They were using too much water, they knew it. They had instrumentation in their facility. They had a reporting tool in their facility. So we worked with them to collect data, build the reports, and it also identified some more abilities to implement instrumentation to get even a finer, in-depth knowledge of what the process was going on. At the end of the day, they were able to identify areas of the process that were using water when they shouldn't, so they were able to eliminate the waste. They were also able to identify a process that was using the water, but it also, with that study, showed that it could be reclaimed, that the water was still good to use for another time. So they started a project and put a reclaim system in. Another area too that I find really neat is where you get your information from. It's really neat when we walk into facilities and your operators or your staff are sharing with one another. Hey, I've got a really good idea here. And that really good idea is actually valued, taken in, and then you do something with it. Because the people that are working with your equipment or in your systems, in the front office, wherever it is, commercial or manufacturing, people have a lot of good ideas. And if you're allowing that collection and sharing, it can really be a good idea for you to improve your businesses. Number 4, be strategic. Create an automation design strategy first and build over time. Be purpose-driven rather than falling into the bottom line trap. So we heard from Giant Tiger today about how they did a strategic plan and implemented a project. But they also said that they had struggles with commissioning it. Can you imagine what that would have looked like if they didn't even do a strategic plan? It would have really been hard for them to complete their project. We had a customer one time that called us to help out on a project, and they had a packaging machine, and someone had purchased it. It had a really good throughput. It was a really good price, and the project was started to implement it. Well, as we started to ask questions about your upstream and your downstream processes, will it be able to meet the throughput that your case packer will be able to achieve? And lo and behold, no, it wouldn't. And so it was implemented, but the case packer actually wasn't able to be used to its full utilization, and another project had to be kicked off to upgrade the upstream and downstream equipment. So at the end of the day, the first ROI that was put together was not even achievable. Had to go back to management, redo a whole new project, and it kind of left a sour taste in their mouth at the beginning of why to implement automation. So I just caution you, be careful, because buying new equipment is really neat. It's cool, but without a strategy, it may not do what you need it to do. Number 5, be practical. Don't settle for a complex process. Simple steps in one direction can solve complex problems. And so whenever, I know when I was young, walked into a big automotive facility, tons of robots, 1 million square feet, and I'm like, wow, this is huge. And I thought, this is amazingly complex. But the more that I looked at it, it was actually just a whole bunch of pieces put together that made it look complex. And so one of the areas that we're seeing that's helping is an agile project methodology. So you might have a big idea, but then to take that big idea and break it down into smaller steps. And with your strategic plan, being able to implement that through the brainstorming in your agile processes that you broke it down. And when you get to the end and reach your goals, you can look back and go, oh wow, this was a lot of steps, the next right step taking place to get to the goal that you wanted to. So we like to think big, start small. Okay, so think big, start small. Just kind of a recap of the 5 areas was be curious, be open, be diligent, be strategic, and be practical. You know, this is where we can help out. At JAE Automation, you know, we provide automation design services to help you be strategic, systems integration, custom builds, whether that's machines or data management, and then as well data management, and then support services to support those efforts. You know, we're into various markets. We do food and beverage, automotive. We've been into lumber, pharmaceuticals, consumer goods, and many more. We really like what we do. You know, we're really about making things better. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it.